Hello there. We are underway in celebrating our first year anniversary. And if you don't already know about it, I'm hosting a raffle and giving away more than $2,000 worth in cash and prizes. So if you or a friend have access to an Apple product, you can enter to win. For the complete details, go to sayyesToYourSoulPodcast.com. All right, here we go with another soulful episode.
Menopause is a spiritual initiation. It is an opportunity to take this time to say, who am I now? I have changed. My life is different now, and my body's different now. And what are my needs at this time in my life? What are my desires? What do I want going forward? I think this is a really wonderful opportunity. It's a portal for us to reimagine our lives as what we really want to do and be in this lifetime.
Hi there. My name is Tessa Lynn Alburn. Welcome to Say Yes to Your Soul. This is where we're going to talk about how you can get past your spiritual plateaus, raise your feminine energy, and express your true self with sparkle.
Hello there. I'm laughing to myself because I had just introduced my guest without the recording on. So here we go again. She's amazing. She has a great sense of humor. Her name is Vanessa Nixon. And what I really want to say is she is a vixen as well. Vanessa is a vixen, and she's a traditional naturopath and author. She's passionate about helping women thrive during the spiritual initiation of their menopausal journey. Yay for that. She is adept at attunement to natural health, invigorating dance, and therapeutic movement, and teaching women to see their innate natural beauty. After reimagining her life at age 50, Vanessa discovered a profound and deeply intuitive process that helped her to embrace her fabulous inner wise woman fearlessly. She now shares these powerful and ancient initiations with women both in the U.S. and beyond who want to reclaim vibrant good health in their own sacred midlife transit. And I love that, right? It is a sacred transit. Welcome, Vanessa. Welcome to Say Yes to Your Soul.
Thank you, Tessa. And I love it. Vixen Vanessa. I've never been introduced that way, but I love it. So I'm going to adopt that.
Yay. You have a special allure. I can never forget your face. You know, we met in a women's community and I was like, who is that? Like, there's just this little mysterious Nixon-y allure to you. So it's been fun getting to know you. And today our listeners are going to get to know you a little bit more as well.
I'm just so delighted that you have invited me here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I've been looking forward to it all month.
Oh, yay! All right. So, Vanessa, well, first of all, I want everybody to know before I forget it, I want them to know that you have authored a book called Menomorphosis. And then it's got a big tagline, but basically it's about ritual spells and natural remedies for all their meno problems. So Menomorphosis, ladies, fabulous. Look it up. And she's working on a second book, which will come out in 2024. All right. So Vanessa, you're here today to help inspire women into acts of empowerment, to be empowered. And part of your journey certainly was all about that. And I know it began, well, at some point in your former marriage. So please go ahead and get us started on your own journey to empowerment.
Well, thank you so much for doing that introduction. And there have been various times in my life where I've had experiences that really felt empowering. And this one was it felt like the biggie. It felt like the culmination. And it did definitely originate in this. It was kind of a 2-year period where I realized that my marriage of almost 20 years was dissolving and was going to end. And navigating that whole journey of acknowledging, yes, this was the reality, and then all of those logistical, tactical things that are part of the process of divorcing, the legal aspects and the emotional aspects. And for me, a really big part of it was also wanting to make sure my 3 daughters were supported and that I could navigate this with the least possible trauma to them. And then navigating the whole rediscovering who I am after 20 years of being a wife and being a spouse and a partner. And, who am I now in this new phase where, okay, now I'm divorced. Now my children are leaving the nest. So my role as mother is also changing dramatically. I ended up moving to a new town, buying a house for the very first time on my own and navigating all of those little pieces.
Was this all like in the first, all happening all at once almost?
Yes, this all happened. This all happened at once in about a 2-year span.
Oh, that's nothing. Yeah.
And then dating again, for the first time in 25 years now as a post-menopausal woman.
Oh my goodness.
So
that's a shock there.
It was a lot of new things, a lot of really challenging things all happening at the same time.
Okay, well, let's give our ladies a little bit of juiciness around the dating before we move on. What was something, that was for you connected to being postmenopausal?
Right. Well, the dating thing was really big for me because I actually had not ever dated that much when I was younger. I was one of those people who kind of just, when a man expressed interest in me, I would just kind of go with it. So I really didn't take much of an active role in dating, and I definitely didn't resonate with the idea of dating around. So I just wanted to be with one person and see if that was going to go anywhere. And so looking back, what I realized is I, number one, didn't have very much experience. And number two, I had never taken the lead in deciding what I wanted to look for in a possible partner, a potential partner. And, having been with, my former husband for 20 years, and the last part of that span, probably the last 4 years of that, we had grown apart to the point where we were not intimate anymore. So it had been, over 4 years since I had been in a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of stuff that I needed to navigate emotionally, physically, spiritually, and then the whole menopause issue.
Let's just say it. No, it's just not just physically, but vaginally.
Vaginally, yes, absolutely. And I was now post-menopause. So I had actually never had sex.
So you were a virgin post-menopausal partner in that way. Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal because our bodies are constantly changing throughout life. As a woman, we're very cyclical. Our hormones are shifting all the time throughout our lives. But one of the major shifts occurs during the mid post-menopausal phase of life. And so, yes, we can be experiencing vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy. We can be experiencing low libido. And really, part of the menopausal phase for me is about doing a lot of self-reflection about, who are you now? Even without the divorce and all of those really challenging, difficult things, I think that for most women, menopause is a spiritual initiation. It is an opportunity to take this time to say, who am I now? I have changed. My life is different now, and my body's different now. And what are my needs at this time in my life? What are my desires? What do I want going forward? I think this is a really wonderful opportunity. It's a portal for us to reimagine our lives as what we really want to do and be in this lifetime. And that's why I titled my book Menomorphosis, because it really reminds me of the concept of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, and this part in the middle where you're in a chrysalis and your body's just turned to goo and you don't know what's going to happen. The caterpillar doesn't necessarily know it's going to turn into a butterfly, but it just has to trust in the process. And some of that process looks like goo, and it looks very messy. And the opportunity is for us to go with that flow, to do the spiritual work we need to go through that initiatory process, and then emerge the butterfly that we really are.
Wow. I love that. And I have to just be transparent here. Part of my brain is still stuck on the word atrophy.
Wow. Yeah, that's
like,
a very...
Who wants to hear that, right? Like vaginal atrophy. That is a scary thing. And
it is.
All the changes that are happening are scary. Like we don't even know that they're happening until they've happened.
Right.
And until we're in a situation where we know it's happened. And there you are dating.
Right.
And figuring it out on the fly and asking yourself questions that you hadn't even reflected on before because you thought you knew who you were. You thought like your sense of your life was already happening. And then there must have been a moment for you of some kind where you're like, wow, I'm going to have to refigure this out, or like what has happened. What for you, what was that like for you coming into even those awarenesses?
Right. That's super important, because I think that we all kind of have these turning points in our lives. And for me, that occurred as I was going through the process of divorce. And as it was getting more and more difficult, it was a very long, drawn out divorce. And at certain times, I did not know how I was going to get through. I didn't know how I was going to get through financially. I didn't know how I was going to get through emotionally. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know as far as like, where am I going to be living? How am I going to finance buying a house or, renting a new place? I had really devoted the previous 20 years toward raising my 3 daughters, which was my choice to really put my career on the back burner and focus on them, because that was what was most important to me, is to, create a very different kind of childhood than what I see as the status quo. I really put a lot of my resources into that part of my life of being a mother 100%, 24/7. And so now at the point where, my first daughter was already out of the house and my other 2 daughters were getting ready to launch themselves. And I was like, okay, well, now what? How do I navigate this? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to have the financial resources or any other resources to support me in this huge, major life change that I thought would never happen? And
there was not just, this is a significant piece, what you're saying here, around the finances. I mean, I know that some of the listeners here, they've been divorced, that maybe they knew they were going to get taken care of as long as they put up a big, good fight, You were not in that situation. That must have been very, very scary.
It was very scary. There was a lot of fear and anxiety. It was the most challenging and scary experience I've ever had in my entire life. I didn't have any financial resources of my own, really. I had, leveraged credit cards and I was in debt. And, it was like, where's the money going to come from for me to move forward in my life? And so when I was at that lowest point of just kind of feeling like I was being swallowed up by the fear and the unknown of what was ahead for me, I finally decided that I could not go on in that place anymore of just existing in fear, what's going to happen, and not knowing, and just letting my anxiety and fear consume me. And I decided, wait a minute, I know better than this. Like I have tools, like I do have resources, even if they're not financial. What are they? and just allowing myself to reset my mind and my energy toward, okay, I may not have financial resources. I may no longer have a spouse that can support me in the various ways that a partner does. But what do I have? And so I took inventory of all of the resources and support that I had. And I found that I had a lot of resources. I had so much education and knowledge. I had so many tools and techniques that I help other women with that I wasn't utilizing for myself. I have an entire network of supportive women in my community that I had cultivated over the years that I wasn't really reaching out to and utilizing their support. And once I realized that, I suddenly felt really empowered. I was able to shift from this place of, I have nothing to move me forward. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, to, wait a minute, I actually do have resources. I do have support. And now is the time to lean back into that support, to allow other people in my community to assist me and to give me that emotional support, or maybe give me ideas or names of other resources, ideas that I could look into, and then reconnect with all of the tools and techniques that I had gathered in my toolkit of health and wellness and well-being resources. And once I was able to reconnect into that, things just started flowing. And people started coming my way, options started appearing, opportunities started appearing, and suddenly the way forward just started appearing step by step.
Oh, I love that. So this was really, like, to me, this is just like a really clear soul growth piece for you, where you've been in the advisor role, you've been in the professional role, that you just weren't even seeing it for yourself. And I think, this thing that you're talking about, like not naturally reaching out to your community, is something that so many other women go through, right? There's so much isolation or feelings of being trapped or just not knowing. I don't know what to do and what to do, right? And then the mind just kind of takes over.
Absolutely.
Well, I love that you got yourself to that place. Was there something specific that you, like on hindsight, you feel helped you to come into that awareness in a bigger way and to take action on it?
I think for me, it was that I was starting to, my behavior was changing. Like I was starting to notice that I was having emotional breakdowns. Like in front of people that were embarrassing for me. I was crying at the drop of a hat. I was getting super irritated really easily and emotionally overwhelmed. And these are things that just are not usual for me. I mean, I've always been a crier, and that's been a great source of emotional release for me. But this was at another level. And
out of control. This was like whenever in public, like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, I felt out of control. And so two things, I realized two things in that moment when I was like reflecting on my behavior and thinking, what is going on here? I realized that number one, I was hitting this place that I'd never been to before in terms of this fear and anxiety. And so it was kind of like hitting rock bottom for me. It was like, whoa, I'm not handling this well. Like something needs to change. And the other thing that I realized was that these are symptoms of perimenopause. And I am, I talk about being an expert in this area, and I didn't even realize until that moment that I had been in perimenopause. And that was another layer of why I was feeling so anxious, why all of this was feeling so emotional, and I was feeling so sensitive. And when I reflected on that, then I saw there were other symptoms that I was so wrapped up in everything else that was going on in my life that I hadn't even realized that I was having these symptoms. And so that was a huge realization that, oh, okay, there's another reason for this to be occurring. It suddenly started to make sense. And realizing that reminded me that, oh, I have tools for this. Oh, I know what to do. Why am I not doing it?
Because you're in menopause.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's almost like something comes in. I think a lot of women, probably say things like this, like, it's just, they don't feel like themselves. They feel out of control. What are some of the things you hear from clients?
Oh, absolutely. I feel sometimes people say things like, I feel like I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who I am anymore. And the things that worked for me in the past are just not working anymore. What's going on with my body? I feel like I'm not even connected to this. I don't even know this body anymore. It's completely changed. And they do feel powerless sometimes. They're like, I have no idea why all of these things are suddenly happening with my body. It feels very unfamiliar and foreign to me. And they don't know why, and they don't know what to do about it. And especially those feelings of, I feel like I'm losing my mind, that can be super, super scary. Whether it's from, brain fog, just kind of not being able to have that clarity of mind, or whether it's memory, like you feel like you're losing your memory, you can't remember things anymore, or you lose words, you constantly struggle to find the word that's right on the tip of your tongue, and you feel like I can't even communicate effectively anymore. Those things can feel really scary, and then we start catastrophizing, like, oh no, is this the beginning of Alzheimer's or dementia, or all of these things that our culture tells us.
My family line and all that stuff, and then we start connecting on stories and making it bigger, or just diverting ourselves from what's really happening onto all these other potential problems and solutions, and go down rabbit holes.
Exactly, and our culture isn't doing us any big favors here, because what we hear is, once you are in menopause, it's just all going to be downhill from there. It's just a constant decline. And so when we do have these symptoms, we feel like, oh, this is the beginning of it all. This is the beginning of the end. And it feels like this, it can feel like this sense of doom and gloom. And so, in my work with women, I really want to help them to reframe that and gain a sense of empowerment, because there are so many things that we can do, and it's not the beginning of the end, and this isn't a decline. In fact, in in traditional Chinese medicine, there is a phrase that they use for the menopausal stage of life. They call it the second spring.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I really love that because it implies that this is a new beginning. It's not the end. It's not the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of the beginning. It's the beginning of a new beginning. It is a second opportunity for us to redefine our lives, to take that creative life force energy that in the previous phase of life, in the reproductive phase of life, that energy, our biology was pushing that energy toward having children if we chose to. But now we still have that creative life force energy, but now we can direct it. We can direct it to create new projects, new businesses, new communities, new relationships, whatever it is that we desire, we still have that same creative energy. And now we get to choose what we're going to do in our second spring.
Yes, and it's so exciting. I'm so glad you brought this up because it's, I think sometimes women, when they think, oh, I'm past childbearing or I had an operation or whatever it is, that doesn't mean your second chakra went away. You still have it. And you still have the energy blueprint of that creative space, both physically and energetically. So the energy field is there for that creative life force energy. And there are so many things we can be doing. And also, I have to bring this in. I think when I probably heard this myself, something similar to this, a number of years ago. Oh, menopause, if you'll wind up discovering some other aspects of yourself. And I was like, but it doesn't sound like a lot of fun. But I have an example of somebody who has discovered the spring in the second spring. And I want to say it can also be fun.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you spoke to that. And I just want to bring in one other piece about this shift, this metamorphosis, this time where we might need to go into the chrysalis and turn to goo. Like the end of the reproductive phase, it is an end and it is a death of sorts. And so I think acknowledging that can be really important for some women that, okay, this is the death of the reproductive phase of my life. But, as the circle of life goes, every death is a rebirth. And so honoring that process that each woman needs to go through, if you need to grieve, then grieve. And then move forward. Use your tools, use techniques, use resources and support to help you to grieve the ending of one phase and then stepping into the new phase, having let go and released and cleared everything you need to clear in that grieving process so that you can step into this next phase and spread your wings like the butterfly and have fun flitting around in this new body with all of these beautiful new colors and creating this new life, with fun and vitality and, a renewed sense of health and well-being.
Oh, beautiful. I'd love to hover just for a moment over the honoring process. And you mentioned grief. Grief certainly would be a big part of things. And then there's the moving forward. Are there any other elements that maybe we haven't really brought into the limelight, as a society that you'd like to share here? Or you think of any of your clients who've kind of gone through different waves of that process?
Well, yeah. Thank you for bringing that in. And for me, the first thing that comes up is that our culture really emphasizes independence and doing things on our own.
Yeah.
And going out there and being independent and being individual and making your mark in the world and being a self-made person. And I really feel like that's a very patriarchal notion. I think that as women, we are wired toward connection and community and collaboration. And I think that a lot of times in this phase of menopause, we feel alone. We start feeling invisible because our society's version of beauty is very connected to youth and reproduction. And so as we're leaving that phase of life, we feel like we're invisible. Our culture no longer sees us as valuable. And because we are encouraged to be so independent, and maybe we are coming out of a relationship, or maybe our children are leaving the nest, that makes us feel even more alone. So I think for me, certainly, and for a lot of my clients, I see this over and over again, this sense of not having any support, feeling like we don't have support, like nobody is hearing us, seeing us. We might go to, conventional healthcare practitioner and they dismiss us, dismiss our concerns. And so I really feel like this is a very important time in our lives to reach out. And if you don't already have support, to start cultivating that support, to start weaving your network of support together, whether that's family, friends, healthcare practitioners, mentors, coaches, whatever it is. For each woman, that might look different, but really resourcing yourself with lots of other women who have the capacity to hold the space for you and support you. That was critical for me, and it's been critical for a lot of other women that I see in my life, in my clients, in my friends, in my family members. I think that's something that is really missing in our culture. I think that many traditional cultures, that's just woven in, but in ours, it's not. And so we need to take the lead on cultivating that for ourselves.
Yes. And just hanging out with girlfriends on a Friday night, or at the softball game if your kids are playing, or, the Little League or the soccer, that's not enough of a connection, right? Just to be kind of going through that surface level of things. It really is like sitting over tea. It's having deeper conversations, and it's being vulnerable. And I love that you specifically said, this is really about the kind of community, the other women that have the capacity to support, because not everybody does. And yeah, I went through kind of my own journey around this, and I never really linked it to menopause, but as you're talking, I could see how it certainly could have very well have been, where I went through something that was becoming somebody else. I was taking greater responsibility for my emotional world. And I remember getting to a point where finally one friend, thank goodness for her, she said, you need to ask for more of your friend and figure out who those are going to be. Like which ones did I feel safe with, and I already had a professional team, which was great, but I needed the intimacy that I couldn't get with them. And so I wound up doing just that. I made a list and I called all of them. I think there were four come to mind right now. And it was a hard conversation for me because I wasn't used to asking for anything. And I just asked them, can you give me this? And here's what I'm needing. And I believe I was asking for like a certain kind of a conversation from them. And one of them didn't know what I meant, but she was like, I'm in, I just don't quite get it yet. It's right. So there was like an education there that happened for both of us. and the other 3 were bored to whatever extent they could be on board. Those are skills we're not taught and that have gone by the wayside in this very, as you said, independent patriarchal world that has been defining things. And I'm just so relieved and happy that no longer needs to define me. And this is part of, why this podcast exists, so that we as women can listen to ourselves, get the support we need, and keep going and recognize we don't have to have all the answers to be of value and to be worthy.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think that we are starting to have these conversations. As you said, it is vulnerable. It feels very vulnerable to have these types of conversations, and we're not used to having them, especially around menopause. We don't talk about it. It's very taboo. We don't know what to expect. And so we do come in like, what is going on? And so we need to have these conversations, and we need the support of other women who are ready to be just as vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, Vanessa, I would very much love for you to tell our listeners here today how they can reach you, how they can connect. And I know you have a fabulous gift for them. So would you like to share that?
Absolutely. Yes, I have a gift. It is a simple resource called Goodbye Hot Flashes, Brain Fog, and Insomnia. It is a checklist, and it can help you to reduce those menopausal symptoms you might be having in a natural way, so that you can step forward really powerfully into this next chapter of your life and be able to find that joy and feel empowered in this menopausal phase of life that we all hopefully will step into one day. So it's full of practical tools that anybody can use if they are feeling challenged with any of those symptoms.
Fantastic. And, Vanessa is a wealth of information. I've met with her professionally as well, and she's going to have some cool stuff on there. So I highly recommend that you get a hold of it. You can find it at herbsofgracehealingarts.com/brief-checklist. And of course, that will be in the show notes. So please go there, go to the website, or go to anywhere in the podcast and go to those show notes and click on that for yourself. And maybe for somebody that you know and you love, just to do that and let them know that you care about them. Vanessa, our time, unfortunately, is at a close here in just a few moments. I would love to know if there's anything more you would like to share with our listeners today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And I just want to say that my deepest intentions are for all women to feel fully resourced, to feel empowered with the ancestral knowledge we all have. It's all there within you. And yes, you don't have to have all the answers, but the answers are within you. Your intuition can guide you. And I just really hope that every woman can feel empowered to make this a really beautiful, vibrant part of their lives where they feel they can make the impact that they're here to make.
Yes, indeed. May it be so. Vanessa, thank you for being here and being your wise, fixing self. And ladies, I just wish you all the best as if you are about to face this or will at some point in your life or going through it now, that you are able to open into the portal of new opportunities if they do exist, where you can get the support that you need. You just need to ask for it. All right, that's it for today with lots of love and lots of light. I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this week's delicious episode. Before you jump off, I wanted to remind you to get entered in the raffle this month because I'm giving away more than $2,000 worth of prizes in both private sessions and actual cash. What are those prizes, you ask? Well, one of them is a private 75-minute soul light healing session with me. And that can be healing on various levels. It might be releasing trauma or tuning up your body or your emotions or clearing things like past lives and karma that's been, energetic debris holding you back. This session can be very helpful and sometimes have dramatic results in relationships, money, and in your health. And we're going to do that together on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. The second prize is a 60-minute coaching session with me, and that's also going to be on Zoom. So if you want support or clarity for your goals, like help with getting started with a project or just creating an action plan, that is going to be an amazing session. You'll be surprised at how much you come away with. The third prize is a personalized meditation that I will design especially for you. And of course, it's going to be yours to keep. So it's going to be fully personalized in terms of the content, and I will be speaking just to you so that you will be able to resonate with it and receive the maximum benefits that you want to create. Okay, now for the fun stuff, the cash. I have several cash prizes in various amounts. I've got several $50 prizes, $75 prizes, and $100 prizes. So you can see there are many opportunities to win here, and I just want to encourage you to be sure to play because you do need to play to win. All monetary prizes will be delivered through PayPal or Wise. And if you have a different currency, it'll be automatically converted for you. So as long as you have access to an Apple device, you can play. And all the instructions are available on our website at sayyesToYourSoulPodcast.com. That's sayyesToYourSoulPodcast.com. And if you need any support in completing your raffle entry, my team is ready to help you with that. You'll find their email on our webpage as well. So that's it. All the best to you, and may you say yes to your soul.